In this video, I'm going to sit here and talk about, is Emanuel Navarrete a Hall of Fame boxer? You ready to dance? Because here's the groovy intro. Before I get into this video, my beard is killing me. I'm probably going to shave pretty soon, and you guys are going to be like, oh my god, you shaved. Doesn't affect me at all. I don't ever see it. It's a beautiful thing. But Emanuel Navarrete, look, he's putting together this career where I think that it's very underrated. He's coming in on the B side. He's got a style only a mother can love. He fights like an octopus. If you taught a 10-year-old how to box like this, you might find yourself in Child Protective Services. The person that taught him that might get arrested. It's a style built upon toughness. It's a style built on a certain level of boxing intelligence that's unique to the individual. So you have to have like a unique skill set of like hitting hard, being tough, coming forward, a body type that's physically bigger than most people you'll fight. And even then, I don't think you could recommend fighting like this. It's always felt like there has to be a ceiling on Navarrete's skill set, yet he keeps running through guys. And it's astounding, right? Because if Anthony Joshua had to have fought the guys Emanuel Navarrete or Luis Alberto Lopez, I mean, he probably would be Tony Joshua. He probably wouldn't be Anthony Joshua. He'd be Tony Joshua with 5 losses. Because a lot of these fighters that they manufacture and they put them in these good spots and they give them the preferential treatment and they come out and they hit a dance and people love them. Oh my God, they're the superstar. They can't really fight. The thing about a guy like Navarrete is, even though his skill set is something that only a mom can love, he can really fight. Like this should have been a levels fight, bro. This should have been a levels fight. Navarrete fought Valdez, a 2-time Olympic guy. And he saw that Valdez kind of moved backwards at times, had trouble punching to getting into range, and he just let off these fluid combinations to the point where this fight, I mean, it was somewhat competitive, it was somewhat interesting, but not really. Like, I mean, this was a dominant Navarrete performance. I understand some people don't really like follow boxing, or they don't live the sport and they're just kind of fans, so probably a little bit closer if you were fanning out and enjoying it. But if you're looking at and assessing it, Navarrete's a friggin' tough guy who was able to use his reach, 72-inch reach, beats Valdez, a guy who beat the brakes off Burchelt. Now he's a 3-division world champion, a 3-division making world title defenses in 3 different divisions. 122, 126, 130. He'll probably win a belt at 135. Might win one at 140. He's trending like Eric Morales, of all people. Modern great Mexican fighter, but why aren't people taking to him? To me, reminds me a lot of Juan Francisco Estrada. Juan Francisco Estrada, amazing fighter, you know. He's a fantastic fighter. But he has those up and down performances against RG Cortez. God-awful performance. Performance only his family members could like that type of performance. Getting rocked and all over the place. He goes, fights Chocolatito. You're like, he has to lose. And then he turns back the clock and you go, wait, you're going to fight bad? Where's the predictive model? Where's the analytics? How do we do this? We're trying to use logic and reason and look at patterns, and then all of a sudden you get up for one fight and you go down for another one. You're supposed to not be able to do that. But guys like Estrada and Navarrete make you wonder, like, how do they do that? It almost makes you feel like there's something we're missing. But Navarrete, to me, is a fringe Hall of Famer. You know, he's right on the cusp of being a Hall of Famer, right? And my followers on Twitter, 51%. He's not a Hall of Famer. 49%, he is a Hall of Famer. He's right there. So now what is it? What does Navarrete need to do to become a Hall of Famer? Well, I guess he has to just fight longer. I think part of it is boxing fans are a little bit of an older crowd, a crowd in denial, right? Passion also comes from being in denial. So you got some people, my favorite fighter can't ever lose, you know, and that's why they get into arguments on the internet. I always bring up the classic. You get the guy with the beer in his hand, very angry, angry dude or woman, and they're like, oh my god, Usyk could never beat Evander Holyfield. And you go, well, why? Well, because I grew up with him, and I loved him, and he was my favorite. I mean, this is the rationale of a lot of fight fans, right? Your personal experience and your personal fandom does not impact the fights as itself. It does. And I think with Navarrete, there's a little bit of a lack of a fandom for him. People enjoy his fighting style, but he's been kind of a ho-hum main eventer. He's been in a lot of 50-50 type fights where I think people have legitimately thought, hey, he might lose this fight. And he just continues to win. And that's why I bring up guys like Anthony Joshua. If Anthony Joshua had fought these type of guys, his name would be Tony Joshua, and he would be fighting probably Richard Torres in 4 fights and probably getting stopped the way Anthony Joshua would get stopped by Richard Torres if he fought him in 4 fights. This is a guy who created his own destiny, and he's very, very talented. The question is, how much does talent matter in the sport of boxing when we go into the Hall of Fame? How much is it the perception of the world? How much is a perception of all the things being equal and everything that goes into it? The dog and pony show. Does talent alone matter? Does achievement matter? That's what it is. We're hearing talks that Navarrete, they're already linking him to Shakur Stevenson, some form of a catchweight. Stevenson wants to fight for a world title before he does that fight, but he's open to it. I think for Navarrete to be a Hall of Famer, he has to have a couple of performances against some really big names of the era. Like, he probably won't beat Stevenson, but if he gives Stevenson an 8-4 fight, that probably punches his ticket to the Hall of Fame more than even winning a fight does. So I think for Navarrete, he's right there towards the Hall of Fame, but he just has to win a fight where people kind of care. I think the problem was he kind of won this fight one-handed and was so dominant that people are writing off the victory, and he's got a couple of these. The Ruben Villa fight was the opposite. He started strong and then got outboxed in consecutive rounds to the point where I think that people are like, ah, man, this guy's going to get exposed. But Navarrete, to me, I think he's well on his way to being a Hall of Famer. He reminds me of Eric Morales minus the talent, and that's where I see him right now. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment. All that stuff. Subscribe to the channel. You know what it is.